Hi there, my name's Alana and I'm absolutely obsessed with high-end and luxury makeup, and my favorite time of the year is Christmas. So it should go without saying that I absolutely love holiday makeup releases. Now today I'm so excited to be sharing with you my thoughts on Natasha Denona's latest launch. This is the Natasha Denona Mini Retro Palette. This palette retails for $25 American or $33 Canadian. And in addition to the mini size palette, which regularly, just for the mini size palette, not at Christmas time, in all of the other colors is the 25 US or 33 Canadian price point, you also get a little tiny eyeshadow brush. So basically you get the brush for free. So we are already starting off on a great starting point. So the plan for this video, we are going to put this eyeshadow on my face and then we're going to talk about it. So let's get into it. So the palette comes in this cute little box, and it also comes with an eyeshadow brush. So we're gonna use that eyeshadow brush a bit in the look today. Now, I've never actually used one of Natasha Denona brushes before, so I'm pretty excited. We're gonna start with this beige shade over here, which is called Corrode, and it's a creamy matte. It's a little bit deeper than it looks in the pan. Okay, so I'm finding that this brush size is a little bit small for the work I wanna do, but I think I know how I'm gonna use this one. And I'm bringing this almost up to the top of my brow, but I am leaving a little bit of skin exposed. As my base today, I'm wearing, in a shocking turn of events, MAC's Paint Pot in Painterly. You guys know that is my absolute go-to when it comes to eyeshadow bases. So we're gonna be going in with this matte brown shade on my Wayne Goss 17. This shade is called Bowl, and it's also a creamy matte. I'm just doing some little tiny circular motions to build up some depth and intensity on the outer, kind of the outer third, outer half of my eye. And then I'm just sweeping it in just a little bit, so that way there's a little bit of shadow everywhere. I'll do one more gentle little tap for down here. So I do want to use a little bit of this mustard shade, and I'm going to go back in just with that same brush I've been using from Wayne Goss. I'm just going to sort of bring it through the crease just a little bit to add just a little bit of sort of that yellow warmth. Just again, just the smallest amount, just to warm it up a touch. So I'm going to be using Blaze on my inner corner, and I'm just using the smaller end of the Anastasia Beverly Hills brush that comes with like all of her palettes. It's pretty flaky. I'm just gonna sort of put it in that inner third. A lot of fallout on this one. It is like a flaky gold. I'm now gonna try that brush on Jubilee, which is that iconic teal shade in the middle. Just wiped off the brush again on my color switch. Just trying to decide if this is gonna be a finger shadow or a brush shadow. The brush is not doing it for me, so let's go in with my finger. Oh yeah, much. A whole other shadow with my finger. Wow, like look at that. Look what is like left on my finger there. We are gonna do some blending. I just want to get that green off my finger because I know that otherwise I'm gonna touch my face and then I'm just gonna have this like green like streak on my face, and I'm not gonna notice it till I'm editing. And then I'm like, should I post it? Should I not? And then somebody's gonna comment, and it's just, we're just gonna avoid that whole situation. So now we are gonna come back with my Natasha Denona brush. We're gonna do some blending. I'm gonna start by just gently blending out the edge on the green, so that way it's not a harsh straight line, which it currently is. And again, we're gonna do that over on this side. And then it did pick up a lot of color, so I'm gonna wipe it off on my color switch again. Normally I'm okay with the picking up color, but I do want to have the innermost part of this still be gold. So I'm just going to take the gold and sort of wipe it out and go a little back and forth here to blend them together. Hoping it'll be sort of a seamless, like peacocky transition. Okay, so somehow this inner corner is still gold and that one is pretty much teal. I'm just going to pick up a little bit more my brush just to sort of blend it in. I'm gonna pop a little bit of that brown just under my lower lash line. And I'm gonna pop on some mascara and eyeliner to complete the look, as well as a lipstick. So this eyeshadow palette contains 5 shades. And if I have one complaint, it's that with the dark green packaging and the black writing, that I have to sort of tilt the eyeshadow palette in such a way that I can easily read what's written on here. So I'm just putting it out there, minor complaint, but like this writing could have been white. This palette contains Blaze, which is the gold crystal shade, Rope, which is a creamy matte, that's the mustard, followed by Jubilee, which is the metallic shade, and it's the star of the palette in that bold emerald green. Followed by Bowl, which is a creamy matte, which is a medium tone brown, and Corrode, which is also a creamy matte, and that is that sort of beige but oddly gray shade. I decided to pull some of my hair back because it was getting stuck in my lip gloss and really annoying me. So as you can see, this palette swatches beautifully, and despite that, it has received some, let's say, some mixed opinions online. I'm gonna start by saying that the formula is beautiful, the colors are beautiful. I'm actually really drawn to that emerald shade. I love colors like that, and really the emerald and the gold together kind of remind me of my eye color, so I'm pretty down for that. I kind of feel like this palette was made for me. The other two things I love about this palette is it includes everything I need to make a look. Just sort of like a matte, sort of nude for me shade, a matte sort of medium to deep brown that I can build up in the crease, something sparkly, and something fun. And basically those 4 things together, like that is the formula I use to create basically any eyeshadow look, except I don't always include the fun. I am a neutral lover. So I wanted to talk a little bit about first why I think this palette is a great value, and second, why it's a great palette for me, but it might not be the right palette for you. So on the point for value, Natasha Denona typically charges $25 American or $33 Canadian for any of her mini size palettes. So those are the palettes that are available all year long, not in the holiday collection. But for her holiday collection, she's still charging $33, but she's also giving you a mini eyeshadow brush. So you're basically getting the brush for free. Personally, I'm a sucker for free things, so that is definitely a point in my book. Now, the other thing that I really like about this palette, and it's the exact same thing that other people don't. So this palette is the mini version of Metropolis. Now, what she did is these 3 shades here, in other words, the shades that are interesting, are all from the Metropolis palette. But she included 2 new shades for the mini, which are, of course, the most boring shades. The shades that I love and I consider a staple in any palette, but they're pretty boring. Let's be honest, if you're watching my channel and you're the kind of person who's gonna buy this palette or potentially buy this palette, if you don't have a matte beige and a matte brown, like you definitely don't need to be buying this palette. There are other holes in your eyeshadow collection that you need to fill. So I think it's safe to say that we all have shades like that. Every brand has shades like that, so those aren't special. So I do appreciate that if you have the full-size Metropolis palette, this probably isn't the palette for you. I mean, like, why would you buy a mini version of a palette you already have if the only 2 different shades are the most boring shades on planet Earth? You know what, like, if you love the Metropolis palette and you love these 3 shades and those really draw you in and you wanted to travel with the palette, picking this up, definitely not a bad idea, not a bad price point, you know, if you want to have a version that wouldn't be heart-wrenching or, you know, financially devastating to lose. Now, personally for me, my love for Natasha Denona has really grown over the last year. And so I actually don't have the Metropolis palette, and I kind of feel like I missed out. I know a lot of people loved it. It's obviously a big, beautiful palette that would be great to have in my collection, but it's just not. And so I really love that I'm able to pick up kind of some of the sort of fun, iconic shades from that palette for $33, which is fantastic, in just a little like bite-sized palette. The other thing that I think is interesting with this mini palette is often when she's done a mini palette into a midi, or when she's taken one of her larger palettes and distilled it into a small palette, it kind of feels like the palettes are sisters, not twins. This feels like a copy, paste, and make the font smaller. So just putting it out there, this one I think is a lot more in tune with what I would imagine a mini version of any eyeshadow palette to be. The other thing I will say is I know a lot of people have sort of said that, you know, they're having a hard time with the creamy mattes. It's not quite working for them. I will say that while she describes these as a creamy matte, these are just like honestly any other quality higher end matte shadow. They're not really cream based like some of the ones that we saw in Retro. So overall, is this palette a great value? Yes, it is an excellent value. I will also say just across the board, I find that Natasha Denona's mini palettes are a great value because I find $33 on an little eyeshadow palette, I'm like, okay, that's a little treat. But when it comes time to making an $87, which is what the midis go for, or $170, which is what her largest palettes go for in Canadian dollars, those are investments, and I have to be in love with the color story. To be honest, I probably wouldn't buy, well, if I didn't have a review channel, right? Like, obviously there are things I buy really to review here on YouTube, but if I didn't have a review channel, I would not buy a larger palette that was predominantly jewel toned, right? I don't reach for those shades. They're not colors I wear in my everyday life. But I think having it in sort of a pocket size, little holiday, little mini palette as something that, you know, I can have like a fun pop of color for a holiday party, I think that's a lot of fun. I think this palette is a lot of fun. Like I'm really happy with it. I think if you have Metropolis, you definitely don't need it. I mean, if you want it, like, I'm not gonna stop you, but I think if you have Metropolis, you probably don't need it. If you're like me and your love for Natasha Denona has grown since she released the full-size Metropolis palette, then I think this is a really great way to pick up those shades. I am really happy with the look and how it turned out. It definitely gives me peacock vibes, which I'm kind of into because actually, I mean, look, I was in high school a while ago, but when I went to prom, I wore a little black dress and then I did sort of these colors. I did like a gold and sort of an emeraldy teal, sort of a peacock inspired eyeshadow look. I thought I was like a really great makeup artist. You know what, there was room for that look to improve, okay? But I was proud of it at the time. And so anyways, that is just to say I've always sort of been drawn to the emeralds and golds, but they're just not shades that I wear every day. I am a neutral girl. I work in a corporate office environment, and for the most part on my channel, we're looking for things that are beautiful and wearable and just easy. I did find it a little bit difficult to get that seamless transition between the gold and the emerald, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I will just say that if you are wearing this eyeshadow palette, first of all, no judgment, but I'm just gonna go out on a limb. I'm just gonna guess, I could be wrong. You're probably not wearing this to the office. You're probably not putting it on in the morning looking for a 5-minute face. You're probably wearing this to a holiday party or some other event like that where you are really taking the time to get ready. And so I think if you have the time and you are looking for kind of just a fun, bold pop of color, like, go for it, you know, like, live wild. Anyways, that is my thoughts on the Natasha Denona Mini Metropolis palette. I think it's super, super cute. I'd love to know in the comments down below if you decide to pick it up. Definitely happy to be adding this to my collection. It's not something I have. It's not colors I really have in my collection. And if I do have the colors, the palette is probably like 5 years old and really should be thrown out, but I just can't, okay? I just can't throw them out. But this is a newer shade for me in a higher end formula, and I'm really happy to have it in my collection. So all of that is to say, it is totally up to you if you get this palette or not, but I think it's super cute and a great value. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Mwah.